Welcome to TJ AI, the channel where I show you guys exactly how to take advantage of the AI entrepreneurship boom, how to stay on top of the latest technologies, and how you can use it to make yourself a good bit of cash too. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how AI is going to be changing the information industry and how you're going to be able to take advantage of this if you are a content creator or if you're in the information industry, whereby it's essential to be able to convey information to your audience at scale, especially if you don't want to waste another second of your time. Now, in this example, I'm going to be using Dan Ko because he's a well-known content creator, and I'm going to be showing you guys a basic chatbot setup so that you'll be able to use this no matter what client you're using or what client you have or what kind of niche you are in. And for the most part, we're going to be using Stack AI, which is our first chatbot builder, and we're going to be using Voiceflow. And we're going to be using a combination of these because they both have very different benefits, and I'll walk you through it as far as the build and as far as why I chose this setup. So first off, we're going to be taking a bunch of Danko's information, and I've gotten all this information from his website, thedanko.com, and his letters. Now, luckily for this specific example, you don't have to use YouTube videos and transcribe them and then put them into the large language model, which is what we use to build these bots, because Danko has a bunch of different blogs that cover a bunch of different things about specifically being a 6 to 7 figure entrepreneur and how to optimize your lifestyle and become a one-person business. So I've just taken 10 of his blog posts and loaded them all using Stack AI in the data loaders. So what I did was I went into offline data loaders, went into URLs and search, and then I just copied and pasted a bunch of his blog posts, and as you can see here, it all says okay, and I'll just show you an example of how exactly I do that. So let's just say I want to look at self-improvers over are creating their own careers online. Let's just copy and paste that, take that over here, copy and paste that into here, paste it, add, and then you'll see that that's going to be added straight into the large language model. So that's loading. There we go. There we go. It's all good. So first thing you want to do, you want to pull out this node. You want to make sure you have an input query, which is what allows people to actually ask the question of from the AI model that you're building. So you connect the input node into the URL and search, and then you connect this node here to the large language model, which can be found here. And I've chosen OpenAI, as you can see here. And from here, you want to I've also put in an output here so that you guys can see how it's actually generating the information. So you understand it's not just a general AI model. This is connecting directly to our documents and getting all the answers that we get directly from those documents. So first thing you're going to want to know is how to set up the system prompt, which is going to be, just telling it exactly what the AI is supposed to do. And this is extremely important if you want the AI to give you accurate and useful results. So here I've put in, you are Danko, a successful 8-figure entrepreneur who helps other entrepreneurs optimize their productivity, focus, and income. Never reference the knowledge source in your work. Keep your responses direct and not too long. Try your best to imitate the language in the knowledge base. And the reason for this is because I wanted to speak as much as it can, similarly to Danko, and we'll see how well it does. So down here, you don't have to know too much, but essentially context, just meaning that this is where you're getting your understanding from. And then the question Q being the input and A being the answer that it's going to produce. So let's just test this out, and let's just put in a question. I have one prepared. I'm going to ask it a specific question. So I'm going to say, I currently work 8 hours a day, but I'm really inefficient and tired all the time. Give me a plan to optimize my day to be more efficient and work less hours. Now let's press play and let's see if it produces a decent response. Cool. Straight away we can see exactly where it's getting the information from. It's going to be from Succeed in the Information Age. And yeah, so that's where it's going to be getting your main um, response from. So here, start by identifying the most prevalent problem in your life. Is the lack of energy, stress? Once you've identified it, just deconstruct it. And as you can see, it's producing the output that we're looking for as far as you know, how to help us with the inquiry that we have. And I'm just going to zoom in, and you guys can pause this, and you can see, you can rate the output. I think it's a pretty good one, and I think it does imitate his style quite well. And just to go over some of the settings that I've put into the large language model so you can recreate this yourself, I've put in a memory, switched on memory, which means that when you ask it multiple queries, it's going to respond with context and understanding the question you asked 3 questions ago, rather than just forgetting the last thing that you said and having to start all over again, which is really important to have this user-friendly. I've also put the temperature to 0.1, just so that there's a little bit of variance in each question. You don't want it to be a completely robotic response, as far as every time you ask the same question, it responds exactly the same way. It will respond accurately, but in a slightly varied way. And then here's where you would put your API key. Let me just scroll up. Let me move this just a little bit. So here is where you'll put your API key, and up here is where I select. So let me just make the screen a little bit smaller. One moment. There we go. Okay. So go back to the settings. You can set up your, you can switch on the stream data here, which just allows it to act as if it's typing rather than waiting until the whole block of text is produced and then sending it off, which just again makes it seem a little bit more natural. And I typically set the window size on default, which is window size 10. I'm just going to clear the memory here for now, but yeah, I'm also using GPT-4, but other people like to use GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K. But I like GPT-4. It is more expensive as far as running the the API costs are concerned, but I like it, and I like the responses, so I'm going to keep using it. And but if you can't afford it, I'll tend to say use GPT 3.5 Turbo. And the next thing we want to do is, because we're not actually using this platform to publish the chatbot, because it's not very user friendly. In general, Stack AI is great for pulling in the data, and you can see all the different types of data sources that you can find on the left side here. And I'm talking about, you know, you've got I don't have the paid account here, not on this account, but you've got YouTube, Slack, MongoDB, Notion, Google Search. There's so many different areas you can find data, even Google Drive, and a bunch of different plugins. It's honestly second to none with regards to the kind of data and the amount of data you can get to train this bot. And at the same time, I really like the API responses. So we're going to be connecting this via the API endpoint to VoiceFlow. And the way we do that is, first we want to publish this, and then next we want to go over here to export and select API endpoint. And then this is where we're going to get the details that we need in order to get the API functioning on the VoiceFlow end. But I'm going to show you guys the workflow that I've built in VoiceFlow and show you guys an example of how you would do this yourself. And then we're going to connect the two, and we're going to ask it a bunch of questions. And then, yeah, you can go away and you can use this for any creator that you want, and use it to either build a mock-up, because this is all free. You can get the free trial on VoiceFlow, and you can use this on the free section of Stack AI. And so let's go to Danko GPT, which I've already built, and I'm going to walk you guys through exactly what I've done here. So if we just zoom out, this is a very, very basic chatbot, and by that I mean there's no lead generation features, there's no intent, which means that, you know, being able to take certain details from the user and being able to categorize them and take them on another path. This gets really, really complex depending on the client that you have. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just showing you guys how you can make this functional and how you can create a prototype very quickly. So if you're looking for a more complex build, drop me a comment and I will create a way more complex and detailed solution for the same niche. And then, but I'll only do so if you guys drop a comment for me. So, starting off the workflow, we have, hey, it's Danko GPT. I'll answer any questions you have about how to structure your life to optimize your productivity, focus, and income. Then it says, shoot me a question. Now here we are using the capture tool, which basically allows you to capture the user's reply. So at this point, it prompts the user to type something, and then it will be saved as the variable last utterance. And then next thing we're going to do, let me just delete this, is we're going to take that variable last utterance, and rather than opening this because I'll expose my API key, I'm going to show you guys how you do it yourself. So first thing you're going to want to do is get the URL for the API request. So we're going to copy and paste this API URL here over into this, and as you can see here, if you go into JavaScript, it will tell you that the method is going to be post. So we're going to make sure that we change the API method to post, and we can also see that the headers are authorization and content type. So those are going to be the two headers that we want to create. So it's going to be authorization and content type. So for authorization, you're going to copy over your API key, and you can press show token and you'll have it showing, but obviously I'm not going to do that. So you can copy and paste that into here. And then for content type, it's just going to be application/JSON. And then you're going to just put that into here. And then for body, which is really important, you want to make sure that from the API side, let me just move this over here. One second. You want to make sure that from the API side that it understands, from the Stack AI side, that it understands the input that is going to be mapped to the input in the workflow that you saw earlier. So in this case, it's going to be last utterance. So what we're going to do is just create a dictionary. It's a very simple code. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that it understands that in-0 is mapped over to the variable called last utterance. And we know that that is the case because we know that this is the query in-0, and this is going to be the query that we're passing through, which is last utterance. And then finally, for the response that we're going to capture, again, we want to make sure that it understands that we are looking for out-0, which is, if we go back to the workflow, in Stack AI, this is going to be the out-0 here, which is the text that we saw produced here. So we're going to make sure that's out-0, and we're going to create a new variable name inside Stack so that it knows that this is the API response and this is what we want it to produce. So API response already exists. I don't need to create it, but I'm just showing you guys exactly how it's done. So from there, as you can see, I've already created it here. You'll see if the API call succeeds, it will post the API response. Does this answer your question? And for this, I've got a few AI generated versions of the same question just to spice up your bot a little bit. And if it does answer the question, you get yes, great. Do you have any follow-up questions? Yes, go ahead and ask. It will take another last utterance or another utterance from the user, and then it will produce the response again. And then it will create that loop whereby if they keep having questions, they're going to keep getting answered. And remember, it has context and history, so you can use it quite dynamically. And if the API call fails, it's just going to say, sorry, something went wrong, please try again later, and end. And if they have no more questions, then it's going to say, okay, glad I could help, talk to you soon. Now, this is just a quick overview of a very simple workflow, but I'm going to now run it so you guys can see exactly how it works. Now let's run that test. Okay, so what would you like to know? Okay, so what behaviors do I need to adopt in order to grow my business? Major spelling mistakes. Cool. Now it's going to take just a little bit of time just to connect to the API, and then, you know, once it's successfully called, it's going to produce that response, and then we'll go again. So in this testing phase, it's going to show you guys that the API call has been triggered and everything, but when you're actually deploying it, it's not going to show that to the user. So don't worry about that. This is purely for testing purposes, so you know what's going on in the background as you're testing your chatbot. Now, the great thing about VoiceFlow is that you can basically, you know, deploy it into anything. And by that, I mean, you can deploy it into Telegram, Slack, WhatsApp, you know, Facebook Messenger, essentially any messaging platform or website that you want to be able to connect with your audience on. You can do this immediately, meaning that it doesn't matter if your audience is on, you know, Telegram, YouTube, whatever the case might be, you can use this chatbot to connect with your audience and to disseminate personalized information based on your own knowledge at scale. Now you can imagine the potential both from the content creator side, or the people in the information industry, and from people who are also trying to create AI automation agencies. There are so many different types of niches and people you can target as far as niching down and sending, you know, and structuring your agency around a particular education niche. So let's look at the response. To grow your business, you need to adapt several key behaviors: consistency, regularly create content, skill development, product creation, feedback acceptance, marketing and sales, and distribution. Does this answer your question? Yes. Do you have any are there any other questions I can answer for you? Yes. Okay, go ahead and ask. Now, the great thing about VoiceFlow as well is you can actually get inputs via voice, meaning that people don't just have to text. You can actually talk, and the VoiceFlow app can talk back to you as well, which is fantastic. But we're not going to show you that this time. We'll show that another time. Let's go ahead and ask it another question. Let's try and test its memory. So, does this apply to a business that isn't online? What did I miss? Go ahead and ask. Okay, let's go back just a second so I can just edit this. Okay, does API response? I know I did wrong. Sure. So I'm just going to reconnect this node here, delete this, send it off here. Perfect. Now let's run that again. Run the test. You're just going to have to be careful with regards to making the loops that it routes around to the place, to the node where it's actually going to pull that API call. It's going to make that API call again based on the most recent utterance. So how do I grow just a business? Just a basic query. And we're going to go straight to the second prompt just to test its memory. Let's wait a second. Now, I think because I'm using the free tier of Stack AI, the calls aren't going to be extremely rapid, meaning that, you know, you might get slightly slower responses. So here we go. Create product service, build confidence, understand social media, provide value, develop a minimum viable offer, all of this. Does this answer your question? Yes. Do you have any other questions? Yes. Now let's ask it, does this apply to, I don't know, building a real estate business? Now let's get that sent off and let's see what it responds with. Okay, this does not answer my question. I'm sorry about that. Let's try again. Ask me another question, or reword your last question. That might help. Does the advice you gave apply to real estate businesses? Let's give it a second. If you want to test this chatbot inside Stack AI, I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that as well. Yeah, there we go. It answers it in context. So yes, the advice given can certainly apply to a real estate business. Here's how. And then it changes the actual response, making it applicable to people in the real estate business. So here it's talking about, market your properties and close sales with potential buyers and renters. Essentially all that information being tailored specifically to the real estate niche. So now imagine Danko probably hasn't put out much information about the real estate niche, but because you follow him and you like his advice, you can now ask specific questions about the real estate niche and have your questions answered based on his understanding of business and entrepreneurship. This is why I truly believe that AI is going to change the content creation and information industry. So have you addressed the question? Yes, absolutely. So he even talks about sourcing properties and handling contracts and everything. Do you have any other questions? No. Great. Okay, glad I could help. Talk to you soon. So if you want to test it out inside VoiceFlow, I'm just going to show you guys quickly exactly how to do that. So I'm just going to publish this quickly and make sure that it's updated. Inside Stack AI, sorry. So I'm going to export, create the chatbot, so just test one. Map the input, so in 0 is the out input we're looking at, and out 0 is the output we're looking at. And then we can copy this link here to open up the chatbot. And here we go. So it's actually going to remember everything that you've already used, that you've already talked about. So I'm going to clear the chat history and start from scratch just so that you guys understand how powerful this thing can be. Sorry, let me just change my where my face is. There we go. So the first question is going to be something like, I spend 10 hours a day trying to build my business. So far, I am unsuccessful. Why do you think that might be? So trying to get a really tailored response. There we go. While the effort is commendable, success in business isn't solely about the number of hours you put in. It's about understanding every moving piece of the business you're building. We're talking about the business model, your market, your customers, clear, conscious goals. Yeah, so it's going to ask, it's going to give you direct help in what you're doing. So let's say, for example, so how do I apply this in my business? I run a cleaning business and only want to work 4 hours a day, but make it effective. There we go. So once you to make your cleaning business more effective, start by identifying the most prevalent problem or challenge in your business. Once you've identified it, create a plan of attack, dedicate the first hour of the day to this problem, and deconstruct your goal into actions that you can incorporate into your routine. Your life must change on a fundamental level, meaning you have to sacrifice what you're currently doing. And in my opinion, this speaks exactly like how I would expect Danko to respond. And remember, consistency, persistence, and iteration are key. Show up every day. And lastly, consider blocking out your focused work first thing in the morning. This is when your energy is at the highest. Great, fantastic. So let's say, let's ask it, you know, would this um, would this work for me if I have low energy in the morning? Yes, it can still work. While it might seem like your energy is highest in the morning, you have a limited amount of energy throughout the day, and it's often most abundant after a good night's sleep. The key is to make it a habit. Wake up early for a week and push through the initial discomfort. Over time, you'll likely find that you grow to enjoy this routine, and your body will adjust, increasing your energy levels in the morning. So this is very, very effective for helping people directly in the issues that they have in their business, and using your information or your client's information to directly help them in what they're doing. And like I said, I wouldn't deploy this in Stack. However, by using different deployment options, you're really increasing the usability for these kinds of solutions. And honestly, like I said, it's really going to change the industry. Now, if you're interested in building a model similar to this, and you're a course content creator, or you're in the information industry, then you can shoot me a message and we will create you a free demo based on your information. All you need to do is go to scalemybiz.ai, that is scalemybiz.ai, and book a meeting. We'll make you a free demo. And if you are looking to learn more about AI, chatbots, and all the latest developments in the AI industry, then you can head over to Instagram and go to tjay.ai, and then you can find me, send me a DM, and you can ask me any question you have. I'm always open. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, there are 2 videos put out every single week, and I can guarantee you'll be learning something new every single time. So make sure you subscribe, stay tuned into my content, and you will not regret it. Catch you guys soon.